Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our webinar on building an LMS from scratch using AI. My name's Alan Reed, and I'm the Learning Director at Get Savvy. I think this topic is really important for membership bodies because so many LMS projects go wrong and end up with poor results and inflated budgets. We want to steer people away from all of that. I'm really delighted to welcome our partner and collaborator, Sinshu Raj from Nestwave, who we'll be hearing from later. So let's get started. Be recorded and the presentation will be made available to all delegates. So please don't worry about taking notes and so on. We've also got a Q&A section a little later on. So we'd really invite your questions about your own project, anything you're struggling with, anything that strikes your interest during this webinar. So please drop your questions into the chat or the Q&A window, and we'll tackle those in that section. And also, the content for this webinar is taken from our online self-paced course called Managing Technology Change Projects for Business People. All delegates will get a 50% promo code for that course just for turning up on this webinar. So make sure you take advantage of that. The course gives you all of the insights you need if you're running a project in your own organization, from putting together a business case for investment all the way through to running a vendor selection and choosing a partner, through getting the best out of your colleagues, through the implementation process, testing, go live, etc. And it does all of that in kind of half an hour sections of very engaging content. So if you are going to be pointed out and made responsible for a project, do yourself a favor and have a look at the course and take advantage of the discount. Okay, so moving on from there, just a word about what we do. We provide LMS and learning and development consultancy services for membership bodies. We've developed three models to make it very cost effective. All costs are declared up front. We do work with our Indian partnerships. That helps to keep costs manageable. And then we're able to provide the kind of services that can either get you up and running on your first LMS, salvage an LMS project if it's not going so well, work on things like your strategy and your learning content. So we're able to assist all of the way through the L&D journey. We're 100% platform independent, so we work across lots of different technology platforms. Our interest is purely the client. We don't have any commercial arrangements with this or that technology or provider. Also then, the kind of services we offer, we've broken it into three main areas just to keep it really brief. We do our own membership-focused LMS solution. And the key thing about that is that there are no license fees. There's no downside to having more and more learners come along, which is highly unusual in pretty much every LMS you'll find out there, including open source based ones like Moodle. In the UK, there tends to be some element of a per learner course. Sometimes they'll call it an additional hosting fee or something along those lines. We don't do that. So there's a modestly priced entire LMS platform integrated into your CRM and website, and that's a large part of what we do. We also do content digitization, which is where we might start with somebody's PDF, somebody's PowerPoint, or more elaborate content very commonly, and we turn that into online, self-paced, digitized content that can have all of the great interactions, scenario-based learning, video, different types of content, different types of assessments. That's a substantial part of what we do. And then we also provide independent consultancy services. So as I say, no matter where you are in the journey, or you're wondering how to get started, how much it's going to cost, what's reasonable to expect, and how to make sure you have a successful project, have a conversation with us, and we have options where we assist at every stage of that journey. Okay, a quick view of the different LMS products we've worked with over the last 18 months. As you can see, we are platform independent and can work across pretty much all of the main platforms that are in use in the membership world at the moment. Okay, so getting into the content itself, a really straightforward agenda. We're going to be starting off with the introduction of how we went about creating our own learning platform, why we did it that way, the things that we learned that you could benefit from, we hope, and avoid your own mistakes. we went through different phases of that project, and we used AI features throughout. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk about how we came to choose the right vendor and the right partner for all of that, because we had a view of how many people we wanted to put through the course, where we thought it was best to spend our money, and how we made that a reality. And then, as I say, we have a Q&A section where we'll tackle any questions that come from delegates about their own project that we hope will have benefit to other people. Great. So let's get started on the first part of the agenda. So moving into the start of our own journey. Essentially, we knew when we started out creating the learning management system and our course content that we wanted something that was really hands-on. We were, particularly because we are tackling a topic like project management, we know some people can think of that as being dry or intimidating. So we wanted something that people would do as much as learn, that it would be interesting and engaging, and that people would absorb the content easily. We also knew that we wanted it to be immersive and interactive. So no just watching a video, no just scrolling through pages of text. We wanted the learners to be engaging with the content, interacting with the content. In our own case, we used a lot of video, we used a lot of avatars. So there's always a human being talking to you all of the way through. It's an AI-driven human being, but it looks an awful lot like a real human being. And all of that is part of the great feedback we've got. People have said we binge watch and binge consume the content like a Netflix series because it's interesting to do, it's enjoyable to do, and the use of those AI-driven tools to personalize it, make it more engaging, have been a large part of that. And then also, we really needed a flexible e-commerce model, which is not commonly available within LMS systems you might start off with in the UK. They tend to be a big add-on. We knew we wanted to take PayPal, we wanted a subscription model, we wanted credit card payments, we wanted group bookings, we wanted discount codes and vouchers for different types of learners. So we knew we wanted it the way we wanted it, and so we'd have to create something to do that. You can't really just get something like that off of the shelf. So we started off with a clear idea of where we wanted to go, and we knew a lot of those things were not easily available, and so we would have to do those things ourselves. So we chose to build our own LMS because, as with a lot of delegates on this webinar, we're expert in our own area. So you're expert in your own area of membership and the learning and development around your membership. So we knew that, and we had that part of it. We're also, by the way, used to helping people select an LMS. We're used to helping people manage and deliver LMS and other projects. So we knew what was out there and what was available in the marketplace as ready-made solutions. We knew that we couldn't find something that met all of those needs, especially around e-commerce and the AI features. So when we started this was in 2022, and those things were just coming out. We were being early adopters at that point. So we needed something that was cost effective, because we wanted to spend all of our money on content. We didn't want to spend it on the platform. We know that learners value content more than anything else. So we needed something that would allow us to spend our money in the right place. And that's partly why we partnered with an Indian-based agency. But the other part of why we partnered with an Indian-based agency is that for anyone who's interested, fully 3 of the top 5 learning and development instructional design companies in the world are based in India. So we knew that up front, and that's where we knew this pool of expertise to be. So for us, the key reasons why a build strategy rather than adapt something else strategy was the best thing. First of all, we had a whole need for customization of unique learning experiences. For us, we knew that scenario-based, interactive, hugely checking people's knowledge and allowing people to drag and drop and do their own things within the course was going to be a really big part of making it interesting and engaging, the opposite of the kind of dry training that people were used to elsewhere. We wanted long-term cost efficiency. So we knew we wanted to grow it. We wanted to add other content. We wanted to add other payment models and user journeys for purchasing, either as groups or companies or individuals. So we needed to control all of that. We couldn't have a company saying, "Oh, it's extra to have this number of learners. It's extra to have this number of active users at any one time." We don't want, like a membership organization, should not have any detrimental effect of adding more engagement. There should never be a downside to adding more members. We felt the same way. And then we wanted total flexibility over how it behaved and how it performed. And if we wanted to change something, we wanted it to be free to do that. All of those things mitigated towards a build model with the right partner, rather than trying to adapt something that was off the shelf, and very much from a commercial point of view as well. So our platform and vendor section strategy really was, we worked out what mattered most. As I say, we were predisposed towards India because we knew that's where the greatest pool of instructional design expertise lies in the world. We also found that the day rates are more cost effective. You can get more content developed. You can get more development done for equivalent amounts of money. But the real benefit was, of course, access to those skilled teams that we could now afford. We couldn't have afforded it in different ways. So we could get the quality we wanted. We could get the complexity, the nuance, the AI-driven features, and we could do that at a volume and a rate that we wouldn't have been able to access or afford otherwise. So all of that mitigated to us essentially initially finding a partner, working with the partner, and then having that partner as part of Get Savvy. So we've then gone on to do mutual projects together, and then be able to replicate that model for other organizations. So we chose Moodle, by the way, for a particular reason. So although we work across lots of different LMSs around other projects, we wanted specific things from our own LMS. It's worth recognizing, by the way, that Moodle is by far the most widely used learning management system in the world. It's not even close. Well over 80% of learning management projects in the world are based around Moodle. There's something like 4 million Moodle projects. There's close to there's hundreds of millions, literally, of Moodle learners going through those projects. It's not even close. And the fact is that Moodle, because of its ecosystem of huge numbers of developers, huge numbers of contributors, was one of the earliest adopters in the LMS world for AI. So Moodle was doing AI-based content management, AI-based content authoring before the majority of the much smaller commercial LMS providers were doing it. So we wanted something that was constantly growing and evolving in a managed way, that we could choose how we manage that. And we wanted something that didn't have a per learner license model. We've had over 8,000 people through our first course already. And if we were on a per user license for that, it would have changed our commercial position with that entirely. But then there are the other benefits of being highly customizable, hugely scalable to an unlimited degree. And then, of course, we're able to plug into these new developments, these new ways of learning, these new ways of presenting content. And all of that is constantly developing without cost to us, whether we are spending money on it or not. So all of that has worked really well and continues to work really well for us. So we wanted also to be early adopters ourselves into this new thing of AI. We were starting to look at AI back in 2022 and delivering client advice around that. And we knew right away that it's something we wanted in our own LMS in terms of the user journeys, and it also in terms of the content. So one of the main things we wanted in our own content was to follow up on our own research, which shows that people learn best from people. Now, that works great for an in-person attended course. But of course, if you want digitized content and you want people around the world to take the content on demand whenever they want, you then have to record the people delivering the content. Now, that used to be incredibly expensive. If you have actors in a studio, then you're talking tens of thousands an hour for finished content. But with AI-driven avatars, where essentially it's the kind of deep fake thing. That's the negative connotation. You can have an avatar. You give it your script, you train it on how you want it to speak, etc., and you just make sure you're fixing and checking the language. You can produce human presented content incredibly cheaply, incredibly effectively. And the research over and over again shows that that's the way learners like to have content presented to them by a human guide. So we were able to create all of in our first course, 7 hours of learning with a human tutor, Flying Bunny's human tutor, going all of the way through, and variations of content based on how people were doing in the course, and AI making decisions of what they needed to see and hear from their tutors. So that was a big determining factor with how we created courses and content, but using fake humans. But actually, we've had a lot of people go through that, and they don't know it's a fake human because it's so convincing as an AI-driven tutor. We really value the whole idea of gamification and quizzes, setting up scenarios, setting up ways you can test yourself, setting up ways you can see if you really have understood the content, or play with the content as you're going through. So the very opposite of static PDFs or static PowerPoint with page back and forth, genuinely engaging content that you can interact with all of the way through. And then, of course, what we have is the need for continual assessment, continual checking that you've really understood things, and to make that flexible. We did a whole big thing, by the way, of getting the courses accredited by learning bodies with huge reputations to protect. And they evaluated the content, they evaluated how it was delivered. So the first course was accredited by the Institute of Leadership and the International Association for Project Managers, because it's real stuff that gives you an actual qualification that you can then put on your CV and take to your next appraisal, etc. So a lot of that was based on how the content was assessed and checking your knowledge all of the way through. We also like the idea of the content interacting with the learner continuously, making recommendations of what they do next, where you might need to revisit a piece of content, or spend a bit more time in a particular area, making all of that personalized, making all of it relevant to the individual. And then, of course, when you finish course A, recommending based on your performance or your interests what courses B, C, and D might look like for you. And all of that is different on an individual basis. So we found using those tools to taking our content up to a whole other level, as the young people say. But also we were allowed to do that in a much more cost-effective way than we could have done in previous years. Suddenly, all of this becomes accessible at lower budgets for membership organizations, which we've continued to deliver on lots and lots of projects. So let's talk a little bit about the project phases and the key lessons learned, and a little bit of how we introduced AI at each phase. So first of all, the main phases of our LMS project were traditional phases of concept, creation of content, design of the user journeys, build of the whole learner journey from e-commerce and purchasing through to consuming content, completion of courses and certificates, and so on. And then, of course, we go through the testing phases and the launch phases there. So when it came to the conceptualization thing, of course, everyone talks about knowing where you're going before you set off, and so on. But we had a very special mission where we knew what was available in the world, and we knew where their gaps were. And we therefore then created our content and our learning platform to fill those gaps in a way that would be engaging and interesting and easy for people to consume without anyone having to guide them every step of the way. So that was a key part of it. We wanted to make sure that we were creating something that was very competitive in the marketplace, was filling a gap in terms of content, and was very easy for people to drive themselves from the whole kind of, oh, I found your website, through completion of the course content. Then, of course, we get to the content creation side of it. This is where AI really came in early for us. So we're used to creating content where human beings create the storyboards, maybe in a Word document, maybe in PowerPoint, and every word is written manually, and everything is checked and developed manually from there. And then with our latest iteration, we were able to use AI at every stage. If you can imagine just giving ChatGPT the job of creating your storyboard based on your content, we were doing more sophisticated versions of that, where you're telling the AI what you're trying to achieve, you're giving your framework, you're giving your learning objectives, etc. And then it's creating the storyboards for you vastly quicker, vastly cheaper. So when we've reflected that in our client projects, we're now able to do things a lot faster. The human being is now checking. The human being is now making sure that it aligns with all of the goals and the objectives. And therefore, what you're able to do is cover an awful lot more ground more quickly, create more sophisticated content within the same budget, and more content within the same budget. All of those things make a huge difference to learning and development projects. Then we get into the design area. And I'm going to ask Sinchu to talk to us a little bit about this. But we were very much focused on this whole idea of user-centric design. People who've never done this kind of content before, never done this kind of, haven't done projects before. And then we knew that we wanted AI-driven tutors all of the way through. We wanted tutors that would be guiding and requesting and saying, here's your next thing, and pretending to be your finance director and say, how am I going to get this out of the project? All of those things make it very human. Slightly ironically, you're being tasked by humans, you're being tutored by humans, and it's a completely self-paced, on-demand course at the same time. We found the feedback on that has been amazing. People really appreciate that way through. So the big challenge was to use the best practice for AI tutors for engagement and accessibility. And the way we did it was the lesson that we learned from that was to involve users early for feedback and iteration. So don't just do it because you can do it with AI, for instance. See what the feedback is like. Do people appreciate this? Are they understanding everything that is being put in front of them? And then based on that, you do more of this and less of that, and then your finished product becomes vastly more sophisticated as a result.
Yeah, so those things we have been taking care of it, and also we have that the current subject what we're teaching about the project management. So we understood that the kind of the user ages who's going to take up those courses. So whenever we design something, we always focus on who's the end users. If it's on corporate level, if it's on the kids, if it's on the schools, right? So we also design it as per those end users categories actually. Yeah. Then we also see it if it course has to be fully accessibility or any certain levels of an accessibility, a level 1 or level A, double A or triple A. So those things we take care of it while we're designing it actually, and we don't want to add lots of colors or something like that. We want to keep it minimal, and we also wanted to make sure that we follow and take care of the branding guidelines.
Fantastic, fantastic. Thank you so much. All right, so then if we just go through the build phase, essentially, once you've chosen your platform, you've got your content design, worked with a partner to potentially to essentially get your content design to a really modern, digitized standard, very interactive and engaging for learners. And then you work out what your add-ons are and of course your e-commerce features, which is often forgotten by people. Now, not all membership organizations charge for their courses, but an awful lot have ambitions to charge more for their content. So we found that to be extremely important. So the build phase, what we really found important was working closely together with the technical team on the build phase and constant iterative changes. So Sinchu, what do you think clients really need to understand when it comes to entering into the build phase? How much of their time do you think it will absorb?
I think for us, for this one, we had the complete payment integrations with different level of payment integrations, bulk orders, right? So then maybe choosing the right, you know, right approach. I think that's something which is very important for us to nail down that build phase. And also now coming to the e-learning one, we also need to see it which authoring tool we're going to choose it. If you really wanted to focus on the SCORM based approach, or you wanted to be an AICC or a tin can or an XAP approaches, right? So we will have to see it what all the data you wanted to track it from the users, also you wanted to store it back to that LMS. I think those things clearly help us to understand which tool, and of course, where the users is going to finalize, preview and take the courses. Are they going to the desktop or are they on the mobile based learning? Right? So those things will help us to pick up the right technology for the building actually. You're on mute.
And then make sure nothing gets forgotten in terms of which devices, which e-commerce platforms, all of those features. Absolutely right. And then, of course, the testing phase. I'll just say here, in the interest of speed, we used a huge amount of interactive and iterative testing. We did a soft launch, and we had friendly people trying to break it for us really hard, and then we would have weekly meetings all of the way through, sometimes bi-weekly meetings, where we're reporting all of the issues and then retesting them till they were fixed. The testing phase takes about as much time as the build phase on all projects, and that's just something to absorb, and making sure that it works across an iPad just as well as it works across an Android device, and all of those things. It's very easy to forget. And then moving on to there from the launch, we did a staggered soft launch with increasingly unfriendly audiences. So we'd start off with people who would only tell us good news, and then we would work out from there to people that we didn't know at all, and get feedback at each time. And of course, then it becomes a case of word of mouth and marketing out there to the point where, as I say, we've now had thousands of people through the course. So the key challenges we found were around managing expectations and ensuring that the stability was still there. What's it going to perform like when we've got 1,000 users? And then learning that, as the volume of users increases, the volume of support calls increases, the volume of queries increases, the volume of people asking, how do I buy it? And all of those things. And each one of those things needs to be improved so that it doesn't ask the question again. You're tackling that question on behalf of future users. So since you maybe just explain a little bit about what kind of support you expect to provide to clients through this phase, and of course, and then once they're live as well.
I think exactly the same support, Alan. What we're given it is like during the launch phase and up to till the 6 to 8 months of times, we used to be there to kind of take care of any kind of fixes and support, right? So we also do, even before the launch itself, we'll take care of all the majority of the testings, performance testings and everything. But there are some times on the certain users who may face certain issues. Maybe they don't get the completions, or they don't get the bookmark is not working it. So most of the times this is related to the specific user system issues. So we'll step in, we'll try to talk to the resources and understand what is the issue they're facing it. Then we'll try to solve them actually. So what from the support, the kind of the support and the kind of the engagement what we given it during the project phase, so we exactly carry forward the same thing even after we deliver the product to you actually. We are not like, even we are responsible, like we will be fully responsive the moment you reach out to us, and we will get back to you with the proper update, proper timeline. And in case if you know that there are certain issues is going to take time, we'll proactively inform you saying that, okay, this is going to take this much of the time is going to take to fix the issues. But for us, both of them are very equal actually, like the quality of the product we provided and the quality of the support we provided. So both of them, we really take care of it. Yeah.
Excellent, thank you. And I'm really keen to get to the demo part of it as well, so we can show people some of the differences. Great, thanks for that. So let's look at some of the AI-driven features we put into some of our courses. So let's just quickly jump to that, and I want to illustrate things like the tutors, using the gamification, content recommendations, and so on. And then I want to get into, since you're going to ask you to demonstrate the different levels of content from very straightforward text all the way through to video and more interactive content. So let me just launch our course, jump into the learning platform. So imagine you're somebody who's been nominated to lead a project in your own organization. So you go, yeah, that's the very thing for me. I do need to know that stuff. So I'm just going to sign in to the learning platform itself, submit on there. And for me, I've already bought the course. So great, here I am in my own platform. And this is what makes up the modules of this course. I've got the creating a business case, planning my own organization, doing requirements gathering. I've got other modules for things like selecting your ideal partner, whether it's a CRM partner or website partner, it doesn't really matter. And then how do I run, for instance, an implementation project in my own organization? How do I make sure all of my users are on board through change management, etc.? So let's jump into one of those. Let's jump into supplier selection. So here we always provide the project pathway, and this is where people are going to learn. You'll see down the left, there's the menu of what's going to be covered on there. So as I go through, what we have is, of course, the breakdown into supplier selection. Here are your learning outcomes of what you can expect. We always introduce your tutors. So we have different people who will speak and say, oh, I want this out of you. You as a project manager, you must do this for me. And they will tell you what it is that they expect you to do. And then of course give you that guidance and all of the way through. And so from there, we have real scenario-based things. So we talk about what can go wrong, what the business context is, what you must make sure you get right. I'll just move through that more quickly. And then essentially having people speak to the content we found to be really valuable. And of course, you can adapt where you have the interaction with a human, an avatar human being, and the content itself to make it ever more engaging. And then from there, we have different ways of managing assessments. We found this to be incredibly important. So, and by the way, what we always provided with everyone was a whole bunch of templates, downloadable Word and Excel files that you can use right away in your own project. And as a project manager, valuable documents are a big part of being successful. So in here, we then got into everywhere there's a quiz, everywhere there's a check your understanding. And you know, in these days, there are much more modern formats. So if I go through here and I'll choose, all right, there's my question one, I'll answer that and put that there and that there and that there. And then I'll submit that. Whoops, got that wrong. But we're able to give context-sensitive help, personalized help and feedback to people using AI-based tools to do that. I'll do this one. I'll drag these things over here, drag that into there. And then when I do that, submit that. Whoops, I got that wrong as well. I'm not very good at my own course. And then carry on from there. So, and we allow people to either go back or take it from there. As part of this particular course, there's a formal qualification at the end of the 7 hours of learning. So we have a proper assessment. So we'll take people through the assessment, lots of different engagement formats and ways of responding to questions. And at the end of it, I've passed on this example here. I actually get my certificate, which I can then put on my CV, upload on LinkedIn, take into my next appraisal, etc. So doing all of that with AI-based tools, we found to be massively more flexible, massively more engaging for users. Sinchu, do you mind if I just hand over to you as well to demonstrate something else, which is one of the most common questions we get is, what's the difference between really simple content, or if I just give you a PDF or give you an Acrobat file, and what fancier stuff could you do to digitize it in the modern world? So do you mind if I just ask you to take us through a little bit of a demo of that, please?
That's great. Can you see my screen?
It's come through. Yep, great.
Okay, so this is the same single page content which I'm representing the three different approach actually. See, the most of the times whenever we get a storyboard, by looking into the content itself, we can come to know which level we need to suggest, whether to suggest level 1 or level 2 or level 3. So most of the times, level 1 is a very basic structures. We don't want to make it more engaging with the students, and we just pass the informations or like just put it in the format of a text and image and share it actually. So, but maybe that's maybe you don't get the same attention from different age group, right? So we may need to make it more engaging and interactivity. So what we do it. So if you look at the current screen, right? So this is the level 1. It is just about digitalized train. Is it text and image on the right side? So if you wanted to make it the same content in a more engaging way and interactive way, so that's what we the level 2 things comes on the screen where we make it we of course we have to tweak the content a little bit, because whenever we have different levels, of course the base content will remain same, but the way we represent the content will structure it in a different way actually, right? So now the first level 1 was just about just text and image. So when the level 2 approaches come in, it's just all about just we made it as a click and learn approach. And when you click on it, you will get more details about the specific pop-up, right? So that's how the level 2 comes. And level 3 is to do with the more with more engaging in a way that maybe it can be video format, or maybe it can be a scenario based approaches, or maybe it can be gamified based approach, right? So exactly now it is on the 360 VR approach where user can just click and get the hotspots done, then go through it. Then in the level 3 itself we can ask just even introduce the knowledge screens and maybe convert that knowledge screens as a gamifications actually. Like basically that if you see there is a badges, the trophies and the badges on the top, right? So whenever users get some right points or whenever they make some right answers, we can actually give them some badges or trophies actually. So yeah, so this is like same content, just a simple demo of showing it at 3 different level, right? So, but when we create a full actual course, you see the major impact from the learning perspective, actually, right? Uh, you can provide hints, you can provide, 360 video interactivity simulations, bring branching solutions or a visual menu things, right? So we can make it the moment you make the engaged, the learning is more engaging and personalized it, then the level 3 is one of the best solutions we could think of doing it. But if you wanted to just convert your PDF to a simple static approach, then level 1 and level 2 is the best actually. But always make sure that even the level 1 should also has little more interactivity slides. So yeah, of course the cost, the hours, the thing about it, you spend some time for building a level 1 courses. Of course you may need to spend a little more time to build a level 2, and of course much more than for the level 3 courses actually. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Sinchu. And what we find, of course, is that very few courses are all level 2 or all level 3. So where the advice really comes in is, here is this bit here. You're better off spending your money on that, and having it really, we could do this really fantastic stuff here. This stuff, it's just a case of it. People have to understand it. So this lends itself more to being a level 2 or even level 1. So great. So we're coming into the home straight. I want to allow some time for Q&A questions. So essentially, I just wanted to give our top tips for building your own platform with a partner and creating modern, engaging content. So there's no getting away from starting with your clear vision. Often when we are asked to help people with a project that's gone wrong, the opening paragraphs are, we didn't really know what we were getting into, or we didn't really know what where we were headed. So spending enough time with that, ideally engage someone who's done it before. It doesn't have to be us by any means, but engage somebody who has done this journey a number of times. the membership world is very good at sharing knowledge. So ask others, and you'll tend to help you, and make sure that you've got that clear understanding. When it comes to your platform and technologies, we really have come to view open source as the way to go. We don't sell it. We don't, make any money from Moodle itself. But we're so convinced that membership organizations should not have any downside to 1,000 or 20,000 learners coming onto the platform. You should not have a negative aspect of that. It should all be good. And that means getting away from a per learner or a per hosting, per learner licensing model, and spending the money on your content, on what your members benefit from the most. That's element of using AI. We find you use it as a tool, you add, not replace the human input, but it means that the humans can do an awful lot quicker. And it means that you can create a higher volume of really great quality, sophisticated content in a way that you just couldn't do before. So making sure that you and your partners, whoever you're working with, have this really great understanding of where it is, and that you're not paying for something that you're not using, but you are paying for a higher volume of things that you are using. And with it, when it comes to AI, start small, and then it'll grow as you get more confident. There are more and more things you can do, everything from storyboarding all the way through scenario-based interactions. Okay, and then don't underestimate the importance of content. All of our research with membership organizations going back years says that what members value the most, 90%, above 90%, what they value is content, content, content. So don't spend all your money on the platform. Spend your money on creating more and higher and more context sensitive content for people. That's what will keep people coming back. We use the Netflix example. If they only put up one movie a month, their subscription numbers would go down. You have the same challenge in membership organizations. And then it's all about working with the right partners who really become a part of your organization and understand your content as well as you do. So Sinchu, do you mind if I just ask you, from your point of view, are there any other kind of top tips that you've seen projects go wrong, you've seen people have bad projects? What kind of things would you just advise people to make really clear when they're starting this kind of project?
I think first is on the platforms, right? So you need to finalize it where how you're going to share your content with the learners, actually, right? So if you really see that, okay, you already have a platform, so you only want the content to be shared, then you don't need to really focus on the platforms, actually. But if you're not finalized the platform, of course, then you need to see it how you wanted to share it, right? You wanted just to share it, or you also wanted to track the users. So if you're just sharing, it's fine, so because you don't need to track anything, so you can just upload it to your websites and share it. But the moment you want to track it, then of course you need to have an LMS. But again, the moment you want to sell it, of course, then you need to have a payment gateway, right? So once you have your visions to be very clear, then of course building the features can be phase by phase, right? The reason why you should have a clear clarity on the visions, because think about you, okay, fine, I don't want to, like, you're in the mindset, I don't want to do any kind of a payment gateway, I don't want to do any tracking. So what do that, we may need spend some time to host it and just a simple websites and everything. But later you change your mind and you're like, okay, fine, I need to have a payment gateway, I need to have these courses be tracked. Then what are the effort what we spent it initially, it can't be reused, it, right? So because we're not done that. But if your vision is very clear, then we can build it all the features by phase and add on the features. That's what we did even with Alan and Get Savvy also, and we keep on adding the features. Yeah, I think if you clear that part, it's perfectly fine. Then coming to the content approach, right? So if you think so that your content need to be updated frequently, it's not like that one time you develop it, then later also you wanted to keep updating it. Then also focus on creating the content in more much easier way that you can make changes and update it and all those things. So yeah, just longer eye visions always help us to nail down all these problems, actually. Yeah.
Excellent. Fantastic advice. Thanks so much, Sinchu.
Yeah.
So then from there, essentially, I'd just like to ask a quick poll from delegates on the webinar, if I may. We've got a lot of we've got some Q&A questions in. Please carry on dropping your Q&A questions in. But what I'd like to do is just see where people would struggle with themselves. What elements of a project you might struggle with yourselves, having we've gone through the phases here. So if I just launch a quick poll. And I'll give it just 30 seconds or a bit less to respond to that. If you look at your own organization, your own project, and you look at these different phases, which were the ones that you think in your own organization you would struggle with the most? Is it conceptualization and getting your organization to agree on anything? Is it getting the content creation side because you've got a ton of content, but you don't know how to digitize it? Is it the whole technical journey from design through to build and launch? So I'll just give it a few more seconds to get to get responses into that, and then I'll just end the poll and share the results. So if I share the results on here, what we can see, by the way, is a substantial number are worried about the concept of getting the organization to agree what's required and what's going ahead. But then the biggest element actually is the build, and that's really insightful from the delegates, because that's where a lot of problems come in on the projects. The costs creep up, lots of misunderstandings, huge amounts of resource. So that's fantastic. So essentially, concept and build are the two main areas of anxiety. So let me just carry on through there really briefly. We're coming to the end of the webinar. So what I'd like to do is just tackle some of the questions that have come up during the webinar. So first of all, we've got a question about pricing, which is interesting. So the question says here, just checking, and I got zero pricing fee right. Basically a query about, is Moodle really zero license fee or not? The question really says, I know Moodle has a hosting fee too. And there's a link to hosting for pricing on the Moodle platform. So the answer to that is that you can host with Moodle, and of course they will charge you a hosting fee for doing that, the same way anyone else will charge you a hosting fee. But you can also host Moodle on your own environment, or with a as part of a partnership agreement. So yes, hosting will tend to be chargeable everywhere in some way, but the license fee is really up to your provider. And as I say, I find in the UK, they mostly find some way of adding a per learner course, a per learner fee, which is the thing that we were keenest to avoid. Since you just on the hosting fee and license fee with Moodle, what do you advise your clients? Please.
I'll add on that. I'll add on that questions actually, because Moodle provide two different solutions actually. One is the Moodle Cloud solutions, where as like in any other LMS in the market, you don't want to take the pain of installing it on your server and managing it. So then Moodle give you the Moodle Cloud options where you can just go at it and upload your content. But again, like you have a very limited options of customizing your branding and everything, because that if you look into the URL itself, it just shows like moodlecloud.com with your the small domain name what you're adding it. But in case if you're looking for to, you don't want to pay it to the Moodle Cloud, you want to host it at your end. It's a one-time effort of configuring all the server-based solutions, then configuring the Moodle. That's a one time. Like then after that, you don't need to really pay anything. Actually, you just need to pay the server costing. Like again, of course, the server costing also depend upon how many active users you wanted. Also, what is the size of your learning packages, right? So like maybe with it like 500 users with almost 200 GB file size, you'll be able to host it with maybe with $50 per month, or $20 per month. You'll be able to do that actually. Now, if you see that, if you compare that pricing with in like you're hosting it for $50 per month, and with 1,000 users, you're still good. But if you compare that two pricing aspects, you see the major difference. Right? You may end up paying almost $1,000 per month or $500 per month for the subscription-based approach. But when it comes to taking care of your hosting side, then it doesn't cost you much actually. Yeah, but of course, again, if your plan is to host your content just for 3 months of a time and you're done and dusted, you don't want to continue that. If you're looking for a short-term solutions, then Moodle Cloud or subscription based is best for you to not invest those things actually. But if your plan is to host it for more than 3 months of a time, you want a large number of active users, and then always we suggest to host an LMS at your end is a Moodle and customize it like the way you want. It's a one-time effort. And yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And the way we tend to work, thanks for that, Sinju, is actually we end up hosting the majority of our clients' LMS projects because of the ease of doing it in that way. Okay, and then we've got a hand up from Ritesh. If you want to ask your question verbally, I'm very happy for you to do that. So let's do that in a minute if you want to. What we've also got here is a question about content maintenance. This is a fantastic question. So how much of the content is evergreen? How often does it need updating or adding to? How do you make sure it's maintainable and the costs are there? So for instance, we're working with a client now who has a load of references to COVID and lockdown and working remotely, etc. And of course, they don't want that in their content anymore. Sinju, just a word about how we work so that you can make the content as maintainable as possible so that you don't have to redo the whole thing when you have that kind of change.
So we have multiple projects. We are on the same scenarios, right? When we created any company policies of maybe cybersecurity or certain policies of the companies, they release it in every year. Like we started with the 2020, then we still recently updating for another client for update to the 2025. So what we do that, we normally don't do any major rework on the content side, but when we develop itself, as I told you initially itself, we will build a structure in a way that we can make changes on the content and we update it. But there are two major aspects you always need to make sure that when you're making updates on your content, are you expecting the learners to retake this content once again as a fresh course, or you expect them to start it from, or it's just a minimal textual changes you wanted to build it actually? Because if it's just a minimal textual changes, then it won't impact the user journey which they already completed. But if you're looking for major changes of adding more content or adding in more major changes, then the user has to go through the complete learning once again actually. Because I think that is the case most of the scenarios, because you release one of the course in 2024, then you come up with the same course with some content update, then of course it's just the matter of that what level of a content you want to update it actually. And I don't think so any major maintenance cost which comes actually, but that the charges which is apply for the changes you needed to do.
Yeah, and these days we do it in such a way that most changes are kind of minimal in cost, because it's a lot like creating a video program or something like that. You just edit the bit you want to edit, or the text you want to edit, or even replace the avatar with what you need to replace, and then rebuild. You tell the stupid computer to rebuild it, and then that's done the change there. So it's not like the old days where you had to strip the whole thing down and redo it. Final question there, in the interest of time. Can the LMS integrate with CRMs, marketing, and finance? The short answer is always. A large part of membership body projects with learning management hinges on the success of the integration into your membership CRM, marketing, and finance system. So I'll just say a short yes to that. It's always a major thread in all of our projects. Great. Thank you so much, Sinju, for that and the Q&A. So let me just move on then, just to wrap up. Just a reminder, we do provide low-cost LMS from scratch, also ways of digitizing your content. So even if you have an LMS, we work with a lot of organizations partnering to create the content for them, to make it in a way that allows them to do more with their money than they otherwise would. And then no matter where you are in your journey, talk to us, because we provide advice and guidance all of the way through to help steer you away from the problems and make sure you have a successful outcome. So I'll just finally say thanks very much for attending. We will provide the session recording to you. We also provide all delegates with a copy of our research study, which is essentially, we talked to over 100 learning and development managers and membership organizations. And then we asked them how AI and new technologies are reshaping what organizations can offer their members. Really fascinating insights there. We'll send that to you. Please remember to take advantage of the 50% discount on the course, particularly if you're entering into a project. It tells you what you need to know to make sure you don't get shouted at and fired during your project. And then get in contact if this has raised any questions for you or any considerations. Get in contact about your own education journey. And then finally, go to our website. We'll send you a reminder about this. We've got some fantastic webinars coming up. One about how you can make sure your own LMS project doesn't eat you alive in terms of the budget. There's some really concrete advice in there. And then we're going to go through what the technology trends in member education are. There's a lot changing. It's all up for grabs and changing. So finally, I'll just like to say, Sinchu, thank you so much for your help and advice and guidance. Fantastic and really helpful as ever. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Great. Thanks a lot, everybody, and look forward to seeing you on the next webinar. Have a great day.